Hello, welcome to IT Expert YouTube video series. Today we are going to talk about QA equivalence testing versus boundary value testing. What is equivalence testing? Equivalence testing is a software testing technique that focuses on checking whether the system or application behaves as expected when subjected to a set of equivalent inputs. The idea is to divide the input space into different classes, where inputs in the same class are expected to produce similar results. Equivalence testing is particularly useful for handling large sets of test cases efficiently. Show good example and provide details. Example: consider a system that accepts user ages for account registration, and the valid age range is 18 to 65. Instead of testing every individual age within this range, equivalence testing would divide the input space into three classes: below 18, between 18 and 65 inclusive, and above 65. Testing one age from each class provides a representative sample without the need to test every possible age. When to use equivalence testing? Use equivalence testing when the input space is large, and testing all possibilities is impractical. Inputs can be grouped into classes that are expected to produce similar results. Efficient testing with representative samples is required. What is boundary value testing? Boundary value testing is a software testing technique that focuses on testing the input values at the boundaries of valid and invalid input ranges. The objective is to ensure that the system behaves correctly near the edges of permissible input domains, as these are often more prone to errors. Show good example and provide details. Example: consider a system that accepts positive integers from 1 to 100. Instead of testing all possible values, boundary value testing would focus on testing inputs such as 1 to 100, and values just outside the specified range like 0 and 101. This helps uncover potential issues related to the system's behavior at the boundaries. When to use boundary value testing? Use boundary value testing when errors are likely to occur at the edges of input domains. The system's behavior at boundaries needs to be thoroughly validated. Testing a representative set of input values is essential for comprehensive testing. Compare both approaches. Equivalence testing and boundary value testing are complementary techniques. Equivalence testing is focused on grouping inputs into classes to streamline testing, while boundary value testing emphasizes testing values at the edges of input domains. Equivalence testing provides a broad view of the system's behavior with a minimal set of representative inputs, while boundary value testing dives deeper into potential edge cases. Equivalence testing is suitable for handling large input spaces efficiently, whereas boundary value testing is essential for ensuring robustness at critical boundaries. Both techniques help identify different types of defects, and a combination of both can provide comprehensive test coverage. Interview question and answer. How does equivalence testing contribute to the efficiency of test case design, especially when dealing with a large input space? Equivalence testing contributes to test case efficiency by grouping inputs into classes that are expected to behave similarly. This allows testers to select representative values from each class, reducing the number of test cases needed to cover the entire input space. This approach is particularly beneficial when dealing with a large number of potential inputs. Can you provide an example of a situation where equivalence testing might be challenging or less effective? Equivalence testing may be less effective when there is significant variability within a class. For example, if the behavior of the system varies widely among inputs within the same equivalence class, the testing approach may miss important variations. In such cases, additional testing strategies may be required to ensure comprehensive coverage. How does boundary value testing help in identifying potential off-by-one errors or issues related to array indexing in software applications? Boundary value testing is particularly effective in identifying off-by-one errors or issues related to array indexing because it focuses on testing values at the edges of input domains. These are the points where such errors are most likely to occur. By examining the behavior of the system at the boundaries, testers can catch issues related to improper handling of the first or last element in an array or other off-by-one errors. Provide an example scenario where boundary value testing alone might not be sufficient, and equivalence testing would complement the testing strategy. Consider a scenario where a system accepts input in the form of a range, for example, a date range. While boundary value testing is crucial for testing the edges of this range, equivalence testing can complement the strategy by grouping inputs into classes such as valid ranges, invalid ranges, and edge cases. This combination ensures thorough testing by covering both boundary values and representative samples within each equivalence class. How do equivalence testing and boundary value testing contribute to the early detection of defects in the software development life cycle? Equivalence testing and boundary value testing contribute to early defect detection by focusing on specific input scenarios. Equivalence testing helps identify issues within classes of equivalent inputs, while boundary value testing targets potential problems at the edges of input domains. By addressing these critical areas early in the development life cycle, teams can catch and rectify defects before they propagate into later stages, reducing the overall cost and effort of fixing issues. In equivalence testing, how do you determine the boundaries of the equivalence classes, and why is this process crucial for effective test design? Determining the boundaries of equivalence classes involves identifying the points where the system's behavior is expected to change. This is crucial for effective test design because selecting values near these boundaries helps uncover potential defects that may arise due to transitions between different behaviors within the same equivalence class. Can you explain a scenario where equivalence testing might not be the most suitable approach, and an alternative testing method would be more appropriate? Equivalence testing may not be suitable in scenarios where input combinations or interactions between inputs are critical. If the behavior of the system depends on specific combinations of input values, using techniques like pairwise testing or combinatorial testing may be more effective, as they consider the interactions between different input variables. How does equivalence testing contribute to maintaining a balance between test coverage and testing efficiency, and why is finding this balance important in the testing process? Equivalence testing helps maintain a balance between test coverage and testing efficiency by focusing on representative inputs rather than exhaustive testing. Finding this balance is important because it allows testers to achieve thorough coverage of the input space while minimizing the number of test cases. This is crucial for efficient testing within resource and time constraints. In boundary value testing, why is it essential to test not only the immediate boundaries but also values just outside the specified range? Provide a real-world example. Testing values just outside the specified range is essential in boundary value testing to ensure the system handles inputs gracefully and avoids potential vulnerabilities. For instance, if a system accepts positive integers up to 100, testing values like 0 and 101 helps identify whether the system correctly rejects invalid inputs and does not exhibit unexpected behavior or vulnerabilities. Discuss a situation where combining equivalence testing and boundary value testing in a single test strategy would provide comprehensive coverage for a given system or application. Combining equivalence testing and boundary value testing is beneficial when testing a system that involves both a broad input space and critical boundary conditions. For instance, in testing a financial application that processes transactions within a specified monetary range, equivalence testing can handle different transaction types, while boundary value testing can ensure robustness at the upper and lower monetary limits, uncovering potential issues with large transactions or edge cases. Thank you for watching this video. We provide hands-on training with labs, homework, group projects, prepare you for the certification, provide real projects, internship opportunities, support you in Resume LinkedIn, staffing support, provide tech references, in-person online class retake options and more. Call us at 847-350-9034 for your free career consultation meeting. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for the latest videos.